Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday and good morning, Lexie. Good
Good
morning.
morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. I'm very well, thank you. And this is the second time I've had the pleasure of combining our energies and our knowledge on a Friday. And please introduce yourself to those of you that might not have discovered you previously.
Thank you very much. So, hi everyone. I'm Lexie, but you will know me on Instagram and social media as Morgana Sophia Astrologer. Does what it says on the tin. So, I am an astrologer trained in the goddess lineage through the Glastonbury Temple. So, we are very much the women who are reclaiming the ancient art of alchemy and astrology for the goddess, but also combining that with the ascension frequencies, allowing us to step into the Aquarian aeon.
Beautiful. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Um, we are going through the most unprecedented period of time at the moment. I mean, the whole year has been completely off the charts, hasn't it? I mean, we've discussed this before about the astrological alignments, how they pertain to our very physical ascension process. But it's almost what I'm seeing, Lexi, and it's been a pattern throughout the year, is that we get to a stage of compression and evolution. I mean, you can't have the diamond without the coal being compressed and superheated. Um, but how many times can we press the diamond? And why is it at this specific moment in time everybody is finding it so intense? We've got the physical, we've got the mental, we've got the emotion, we've got the spiritual fields. Usually there's a theme with one. Okay, but back in the early days of back in the
Mm.
good old days of the first half of the ascension process, they used to pick a year. Like say 2013 was the year of mental transformation. Then 2014 was a year that focused on emotional transformation and the removal of the karma. The early days of it, this year has been everything all at once, compressed into a what my granddad used to call a bugger's muddle. But he was from Wolverhampton and didn't used to mix his words at all. But that's how it feels to a lot of us. It feels like the outside world is just a almost undealable with carnival, but we've got our own process. So what's happening in your view to each and every one of us at this moment?
So I've seen this year very much as an initiation. So when we're on the goddess pathway, when we're priestesses, we're always going through initiations, and on our ascension pathway, we're always going through these initiations. 2025 has been particularly rough. So cast our mind back to the months that should not be named, March and April, where we had the Venus retrograde, the Mercury retrograde, the eclipses, all
Mm.
at once. We kind of staggered out of that and went, oh, I hope the rest of the year is better. But what I'm really seeing and feeling is this is the clearing. This is the all the initiations are kind of being wrapped up into one big initiation, personally and collectively, in order that when we get to February next year, when we've got this incredibly historic, never had done before conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, so that's the start of the astrological wheel, that we are ready to step into the energy that is coming. So it's really asking us to go through these fires, which are kind of literally stripping us away. I don't know how much more we can strip away, but I'm sure there's a lot more to go, to allow us to really step into one, our master pathway, two, ensure that we are actually in our own sovereignty, our
Mm.
own authority, and we are truly walking our pathway. And we have dealt with all the sludgy, slimy shadow that I adore, I know you don't like, that actually it sometimes holds us back from achieving our full potential. So when we talk about shadow, we're like, oh, it's Scorpio season, oh, it's dark and it's witchy and it's shadow filled. We have
Yeah.
to remember that our shadow also holds nuggets of gold, which our body, our emotions are keeping us safe from actually accessing our true potential. So I'm really seeing this last part of the calendar year as being really a bit of a dark night of the soul, collectively and personally. But have you got the? I was going to say, have you got the ovaries? to really kind of sit in this energy and go, actually, I'm going to allow myself to surrender to what needs to be stripped away.
Yeah.
We've got Saturn having her final dance in Pisces. She's very much about structure. She's not very happy in Pisces, if I'm
Good.
honest. And we've got Neptune, right? Yeah, I know you. Yeah, I love Saturn. Then we've got Neptune kind of moving on the 20th back into Pisces. So Neptune, beautiful planet, oracular, kind of pale
Mm.
blue, kind of wafts around the cosmos. And in Pisces, she's very much about illusion and delusion. And she's been there since she was in Pisces since April 2011. She's gone
Mm.
into Aries, she's coming back to do her final pass. So I'm really seeing that the veils are going to be stripped away. So not just the
Yeah.
thin veil that we talk on the astral, everything, the illusion, the delusion that we've been in, the false light, the false teachings, because let's be honest, we've all fallen for various things. It's really now asking you, so what is your truth?
Mm.
And are you going to really stand in your truth? Remembering that our truth doesn't have to be shiny and sparkly, it can be dark and it can be human. And we're going to have a group of light workers, light warriors, whatever we call ourselves these days, who are actually shadow workers, who are actually holding this space to allow us to go through all this transformation. So yeah, basically it's like a cosmic dark night of the soul. I can't wait.
Juicy. It's that this is why I love what you do, because you have the ability to explain the balance of the polarity, the light and the dark, and how one they serve each other so well
Yeah.
at this particular point in time. Because I'm just as kind of, I won't say guilty. I added my energy to it significantly on the beginning of my pathway, where I would not go anywhere near it. It was just like all I wanted to do was immerse myself in the light, the teachings of the ascended masters, the
Mm-hmm.
the connections of the angels, the dragons, the unicorns, the higher extraterrestrials. Dive into Golden Atlantis and stay there because it was a lot more comfortable, overlooking the fact that every single one of these ascended masters have been through the very depths of their own dark nights in order to begin their ascension process, which would have been incredibly challenging when they did it in the third dimensional frequencies and the energies. What amazes me at the moment is that we are getting precisely what we ordered from the cosmic menu. Okay, we picked this meal. We picked this meal, the starter and the afters, very specifically. We've guided our own trajectory, called these energies and this set of circumstances in, because the entire planet has to go from one state of consciousness into another. But we can't pick and choose the bits that we want to experience. The whole thing comes as a package. And I think from my perspective, what I'm seeing at the moment is the stark realization of how much work we actually have still got to do on a personal level at this moment in time. And it's coming as a bit of a shock to many of us, me included, because I'm going through my own personal transformation slash physical challenges at the moment. And we as human beings have a tendency to cruise when we're comfortable. We do not go above and beyond, do we? We stay where we are because, why rock the boat? Things are all right. Things are going okay. And so therefore the pressure is almost applied to us, for us, to assist us. We call in assistance. We ask for help, but then we moan because we're getting it because it might not be packaged in the way that we actually want it. Same analogy as the menu. And so, yeah, I completely feel exactly what you're saying at the moment. This is a collective dark night.
Mm.
It's a point of realization for many, many of us who've been on this pathway for a short time or a long time, that we have to be fully aligned with the frequency that we are moving into. Words, actions, the entire energy that we're bringing to it, and anything else that is not aligned with that frequency is being shaken away.
Absolutely. And it's the analogy of, we're kind of at the black coffee and bittermint stage of kind of the process at the moment.
Mm.
we're going to see a lot of people, and part of the work that I do is they're going to have to rip the plaster off that they've put over the wounds that they are carrying, the traumas that they are carrying, small t, everything that's gone on in this life as well. And we have to also understand that the shadow is here to love us and push us forward. The shadow isn't black. Okay, so I talk to a lot of people like, oh, shadow, that must be like black magic. No, it's not. It simply is the repressed parts of ourselves that keeps us safe, that holds us back from accessing our real power. And in that, there are golden nuggets, and sometimes our energy keeps us small. So it may be that you had an absolute desire to be a musician. You're an incredibly talented piano player, but you were told, no, you have to go and, I don't know, study medicine or do sciences because, that's not what you did in that time. No one makes money being a musician. So actually, that's a repressed part of yourself. So actually, can you sit with that repressed part of yourself and ask it to come forward? Actually fall back in love with making music again, learn the piano again, play the guitar, because actually that's the kind of gold that our soul holds us back. So it's not just us holding us back, it's how we have had influences from family, from school, from education, from work that have stopped us accessing our full potential. So this is really an invitation between now and kind of in bulk, really, to explore all these repressed parts of ourselves. And it's not going to be clean, it's not going to be full of glitter, it's actually going to be quite murky. I got a triple Scorpio placement, so I kind of swim in these depths quite regularly and just pop out every now and again. But actually, it's not, must emphasize this, it's not negative traits, it can be positive traits as well, but we just have to recognize these hidden parts of ourselves. So it's really about taking inventory of who you are. What are you hiding? What is the fear that comes up around showing that to people? And it's really about us connecting in with actually what is our soul's desire. Are we putting a sticking plaster on because we feel we must be light and sparkly and wonderful and in a place of happiness all the time? Actually, your soul might need to go through this. Your soul might actually be craving to do something slightly crazy, slightly dark. You've actually got to understand these desires. And as Carl Jung said, you've really got to make the unconscious conscious. The second that we accept all parts of ourselves, and Carl, there's bits of me I really don't like, but as soon as we accept them, we can alchemize them, bring them into our field, and actually we really step out in our own true power. And this is the magic of astrology as well, because astrology is alchemy. We can see both the light and the shadow, and the prescription is always in Scorpio season is to drink the poison and allow that to become the medicine that transforms us. So there's a lot for us to do, and there will be a lot of people going through this, oh no, I can't possibly deal with my shadow because I'm okay, I'm on the ascension path. Fortunately, I've got news for you. We're all going to have to do it. And you and I, as these new earth leaders, are going to have to show it and do the work and actually share with people. We are doing the work. I mean, there's so much work that I do, particularly around my chironic wounds, which are very much about not being worthy enough, not being good enough. I have to sit with those on a daily basis. So we need to lead the way forward and actually share a lot more of the shadow work that we're doing and kind of hold our hands out and say, look, we're doing it. It's okay. It's okay to do it as well. And it's going to be really, really powerful. And, have you got the drive and the will to reconnect with the whole of yourself and not just the nice parts of yourself? So going to be very, very interesting over the next few months, I think.
It's going to be interesting. As you were speaking, I just got reminded of something that I did as a child. I think I might have been 6 or 7. It's a random story. And my mum and dad used to be part of the transcendental meditation movement, and they used to have this big tasty gaff up in Yorkshire that we used to go to.
Yeah.
Beautiful Swithamley it was called. Yeah. And they got this gorgeous, I don't know whether you recall the gardens, but there was like these shallow garden, like almost like ponds, but very, very shallow in this big circular garden. And I went out there, I think it was March or April, I don't know, they let me out on my own, or I'd wandered off on my own. and these little shallow bits were full of mud and frog spawn. For some reason, I thought it'd be a really good idea to get in and roll around in it. And I thought it was great, but I remember my mother's scream when I walked back into the room, and that just kind of reminds me a little bit of where we are at the moment. You know, like if you want to go roll around in the mud and the frog spawn, and now's the time, because you know it's part of our what drew me to do that, don't know, but it's obviously part of me that needed to get in there and have a roll around. There is no harm in diving deep and getting all of this out onto the surface at the moment. It's something that we shouldn't be afraid to do, and we need to be doing it. And that is such a good point that you've just made about how those who are presenting themselves as New Earth leaders need to be actually honest about our own processes. That's a big one, because in many cases we've been taught as spiritual leaders, teachers, whatever we want to call ourselves, that we have to present a clean image, that we have to be not in a perpetual state of love, grace, and unity, and never suffering, because the methodology that we use works. Otherwise, it's maybe not testament to the things that we're teaching. But that's not where we are anymore. You know, if we don't document and express our own personal processes, the highs, the lows, the difficulties, the human things that we are going through, how does anybody else know that it's going to be okay to go through these things? And we all have emotions. It doesn't matter how deeply you've gone, or how hard you've worked, or how level you are with the goings on of the world. We all have the same emotions as everybody else, but just different trigger points. And I think it's time to be really honest about this. If we are, again, it's about your actions matching your words and your frequency. All of these things have to tie in together. So if you're acting in one way but speaking in another, apart from the fact this is incredibly visible now, people can feel it. We've this year, as well as being the year of the initiation, we've had all of the ability to remain in illusion stripped from the third eye, which has increased our powers of perception exponentially. And that is going a long way in also making people feel very uncomfortable, because they can see and feel things that they weren't privy to before.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you and I have talked about it, how I, particularly around April and May, just stopped
Mm.
following everybody, went back into my own truth, and then went back to follow the people that really resonated, and they became like 2 or 3 people. You know, because actually I needed to refine myself. And when we are presenting ourselves as teachers, leaders, healers, whatever we want to call ourselves, in this state of purity, we are very much playing into the age of Pisces. So the age that we're coming out. So it's all about the processions of the equinoxes.
Mm.
But we're out of the age of coming out of the age of Pisces, which is very much this last two and a bit thousand years, into the age of Aquarius. We're very much in this bridging section. So it's kind of a 500-year overlap and bridge.
Yeah,
And purity culture very much is about the age of Pisces, unconditional love, you know, floating around. Everybody's perfect. I'm so pure, because that's how, you know, the teachings of Yeshua and Magdalene have been warped, shall we say.
yeah,
That's purity culture. When we come into the age of Aquarius, it's about, you know, community, collaboration, connection, but it's about raw, honest truth. And this Neptune
absolutely.
and Saturn transits at the moment are really stripping away the illusions and the delusions. You can really see, particularly for those of us who've got presence on social media, we have to be raw and we have to be real. Yes, we're going to
Yeah,
have good days. Sometimes we're going to have days where we can barely get out of bed. That's okay. But we're going to have to be presenting this, because the standing here being so smiley and so, you know, fabulous, everything's going so well in my life. Behind them, I'm trying not to swear, there's an absolute poo show going on. And actually, we have to understand we're all humans having a spiritual experience. We're
yeah,
moving from being leaders and teachers into being equals in the age of Aquarius. We move from this kind of triangular shape into a more flat line. We will all sit around a round table. We'll all have skills and expertise, and we'll all respect each other. It's not, I know more about this, therefore I am the expert in it. It is all of the age of the guru, and that is going to really be a huge struggle for many people who have relied on teachings, but now they're not teachings. This is gnosis sharing. So we're sharing the knowledge. So if there's going to be a real switch, but we have to move away from this purity culture, because we're still in this human flesh suit, and we're still, we're still going to have desires. And like rolling in the mud, we have to sometimes act and, integrate those desires. We can't repress whatever that desire is. I mean, my big desire is a TVR Tuscan and iridescent purple, but I can't repress that anymore. I've just got to say it out loud. I really want one. But it can be any desire that's repressed, and that in turn is actually going to affect our physical body. So remembering that repressed emotions, anger, if we aren't getting it out there, however you do it, phoning your bestie, screaming at somebody, getting it on paper, going out into the woods and just telling everybody that what you really think. If we're not doing that and we're repressing it, we're going to have a lot of really unwell ascension workers, and that's not a place that we want to be. So yeah, we really have to embrace it. And here's a call out: everyone who's on social media, be raw, be real. It's not about putting sympathy posts out. So you're not going to be in tears crying down on the social media, but just say, do you know what, guys, I'm having a rough day, and I'm going to come back to you tomorrow and tell you how I've dealt with it. Because it is about leading by example, and that's the only way that we're going to get forward now, because I'm feeling the downloads that are coming through are getting slower. There's not as much rich information, because this is the year where we have to integrate it all. So we can't be externally seeking. This is about internally seeking. And I know when I'm channeling, I exclusively channel at the moment Ariane Rod. She's the dark face of Goddess. And a lot of the galactic messages I'm getting through are just slowing down, because actually we just need to take on board this plethora of information we've already got and use it and utilize it and embody it, because we're not going to get any more until we are actually actively walking the path, fully embodied. And that is going to take a long time, because we're always seeking externally. So if you are channeling and you're getting less through, it's because you have to embody that energy now.
That correlates very much with I always describe that particular experience as going dark. It's like being shut in a room, all the lights go down, so you can only just see what's going on. You can see your guides and your team kind of surround you in a circle, but they're not talking to you. They're just watching you writhe and become increasingly more uncomfortable with your
Guides are unpleasant.
yeah. And so, or quite often that can go on for as long as we resist it for. Our level of resistance dictates the length of time that we go through that particular test. It happened to me in March. I'm sure plenty of people have heard the story when at the beginning of March the Intergalactic Council came to me and said, look, we're taking a recess, have the month off. I was like, great, okay. I've got workshops booked throughout the month, and said we'll be back at the end of the month. And sure enough, on the 29th, Merlin came back in really strongly and said, the blue light is coming through today, prepare your third eye. And from that point onwards, things have just accelerated, because that blue light took away, it stripped away. It was almost like a universal decision to do this, to accelerate the process and to bring new factors in. And over the course of the year, we've really had to kind of evolve to match these happenings that are occurring around us that maybe weren't predicted. As well as being a year of initiation, what we're being faced with is a huge field of wake up. So many people have woken up, and the energy it's gone a bit rogue. Okay, you've got all of these people that are becoming very, very powerful, Lexie, but they're not directing their energy in the right direction. It's going to all of the latest distractions, the fads, the flashing lights, the crappy news, all of the things that you can outsource your energy to. And you basically, Serapis Bey used some very specific language. He said, if you're tuning into the current scenario and you're a light worker, you've activated, you're on the process of awakening. No matter how you're applying your energy, you are loose for the beast. That was his exact words. So basically you bring that to your back to your core, and you use and utilize all of your frequencies with precision and with clarity. And we can only do that if we work through our triggers.
Oh, and absolutely. And just thinking about the shadow of Aquarius, you know, the light side, connection, collaboration, community, it's all going to be wonderful. The shadow side is actually technocracy. So actually,
Mm.
when we're directing our energy, when we're, you know, are we standing empowered? How much are we actually giving away by picking up our phone, mindlessly scrolling? How, you know, it's a very steep slope when we're going down it very, very quickly. And he's right. Where is your energy going?
Yeah.
You know, take an energy inventory. I do this sometimes. You know, where have I spent my energy today, and actually how can I tweak that and rebalance it? So it is really, really important that we really find this sovereignty, and we
Mm.
find the sovereignty where we're holding our own energy and not outsourcing it to whatever, you know, distraction, be it social media, be it the need to have the latest gadget, the need for spiritual consumerism as well. So what you are consuming in your field is going to affect you. So it is, yeah, absolutely, remain in your power and really think, where is your energy going? Because that is going to be
Absolutely.
the micro affects the macro.
Of course it does. And there was something else that I heard recently, which really, really resonated with me. And I've been feeling this is something that I'm personally going through. This is almost like the core of my current transformation, which is being distinctly uncomfortable, you know, while we're being honest and kind of candid here. Um, what was it? How was it put? As healers and light workers and teachers, we have to find a way of healing and helping people without harming ourselves.
Absolutely. And it is, you know, healer, heal thyself first, you
Absolutely.
know, actually. And the question you've got to ask is, why do you want to help somebody? Is
Mm.
it because the shadow part of you wants to feel really good and really like, oh my God, I've been so good today? You know, where is this desire to help coming from? And does
Yeah.
that person really need the help? Unless someone comes to you and asks for help and says, this is what's going on, I need your help. Is it our right to interfere at the moment? And I think that's a really interesting kind of moral
Mm.
question for us all to ask. Yes, we can be of assistance, but on that more one-to-one basis, why are we interfering on that soul pathway? Actually, we need to be making sure that we are healed and leading forward. And when the help is asked for, we give it, and we give it freely. So it's a little bit of an ego buffing exercise I'm feeling at the moment. You know, you might put a post out and someone goes, oh, I can show you this, I can show you that technique, and do this and do that.
Mm.
That's their ego speaking. So actually, they need to go away and deal with that aspect of themselves and then have that conversation. Again, this gets into that kind of like dark, murky shadow that you know, not remotely judgmental, obviously. Sag rising, Sag moon.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, is it when we're trying to help someone, is it an ego trip? And if it
Mm.
is, why is it an ego trip? Go into it, you know, really explore it. Get excited about the fact you've noticed this about yourself,
Yeah.
and then come back and go, okay, I realized I was doing that from ego. I'll integrate that into my body. I'll make sure I'm aware of it so that next time when that feeling comes up, I can dialogue with it and say, why? Why am I doing this? There's a difference between, we were talking earlier, you know, I sent a parcel to a friend who's having a really rough time because I wanted to give comfort. It wasn't, oh my God, I can heal you, I can help you. It was just, I'm thinking of you. So really
Absolutely.
dialogue with that on yourself, because we can sacrifice ourselves. And actually, is that for your highest good or that person's highest good? Or is it just because you want to feel good?
So important. And do you know what? When we look at all of the things that occur on our pathway, Lexie, it all pertains back to the very basic of the spiritual laws. I mean, what you've just spoken of comes under the law of non-interference, which is just an absolute basic modality. When you break it down and you bring it, when you scale everything back, the complications of our existence and the things that we put our energy into, the law of non-interference is the very basic one, is that, you know, nothing without invitation. It's one of the simplest principles, but because everything gets so complicated when all of this is brought in, though those laws get bent and navigated around, and this is very much where what we would regard the keepers of the 3D matrix have really come unstuck, is the fact that they've attempted to navigate suppressing this ascension process by bending the spiritual laws. In actual fact, in bending them, they've gone ahead and outright broken them, which is a no-no
Absolutely.
on any level, up, down, left, right, court, you know, like wherever you're going from, those are the boundaries that you do not step over. So it's, again, that's very interesting to see how we respond to it when you scale everything back. As I suppose if you look at it logically, if you want a kind of a daily spiritual practice from this point onwards, live by the spiritual laws, learn the spiritual laws. You know, there's enough documentation about it out there. Find out what they are, and then every time you act, think, do, speak, whatever it is, am I adhering to those sacred principles, those divine principles? And you get your answer at the end of the
Uh,
day.
Absolutely, and very much the way that we are taught as priestesses of the stars, of Ariane, what to teach. You know, we abide by the rules that are set down in order to harm no one and just share the information that comes through. But I think that's so important, is really living by that framework. You have
Mm,
freedom within that framework, but living by that framework and being the example to others, it's so important.
absolutely. Beautiful. So I mean, like that would be the divine principles, the hermetic prophecies, and all of the other
Yeah,
work. And I can remember, in fact, the very first book that I ever read on the spiritual pathway was Diana Cooper's A Little Light on the Spiritual Laws. So it's all out there.
so it's all there, and you know that the magic principle, as above, so below, as within, so
Mm.
without. It's the box that
It is.
you really reflects your behavior.
Yes. Very yummy box. I like that. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Pleasure.
Leslie. It's been a very illuminating chat on in what feels like quite an intensive. You know, we're predicting going into the darker times, but you know, like you say, when you go in there and you immerse yourself in this process, there's you find lumps of gold on the way. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Everyone likes
Yeah.
gold, don't they? So yeah, happy days. What
Thank
have
you
you
so
got?
much.
My pleasure. Have you got anything coming up that you'd like to share, or?
I have, yeah, very, very quickly on the 24th of October, I'm doing a 30-day Dark Goddess container where you can explore the messages of the Dark Goddess in Shadow Season. So that's quite nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm doing quite a lot of astrology charts and kind of soul mentoring at the moment. So if you are in that dark night of the soul, you know, the help is here. We're living proof that we can really kind of hold your hand going through it and help you really find your power.
Well, I will include links to your work and your website and your information underneath this video. So thank you so much for coming on with
Oh,
me today,
thank you
Lexie.
very much for having me.
Pleasure. And sending you all lots of Friday love. Hope you all have a beautiful weekend out there, and see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.